Outside it's approximately 74 degrees with a slight chance of rain from hours 2 to 3.
And now we'll be moving on to myth number 1. Myth number 1 states, following the American Revolution, the role for women in the new United States changed, and they were given far more legal, political, and social rights than women in other nations. This myth is basically stating that the role women played in society in the new United States changed after the American Revolution ended. They were given far more rights than women in other nations. The rights that they were given were social, legal, and political rights.
We were given articles to pick apart to find evidence on deciding whether this myth was either false or true.
Women play a huge role in modern day society. We're allowed to vote, receive an education, and we aren't limited in the working field. We are viewed as equally as guys, but was this always the case? So Eric, how do you feel about that? Do you think it's true or false?
I think it's true.
Why?
Because that's the way I was taught.
Whoa! That's completely wrong. This myth is busted!
Wait, how do you know that?
Well, the Republican motherhood is a term used in the late 18th century explaining how women wanted the same rights as men. However, they were only granted an education because the men and the council expected the women to educate their children in order for the future generations to be the same way the council wanted them to be. So basically stating that they didn't get the same social or political rights as men, but instead were only educated solely for the purpose to raise their offspring.
Omar, I heard Elizabeth's piece of evidence, but I wonder what other evidence could bust this myth.
Let's see what Lizzie has to say.
Also, just like Elizabeth had stated, Republican motherhood was a very big idea after the American Revolution. With this idea, it was still apparent that the women and men were separate groups. The women were part of the civil duties, whereas the men were the foundation that held everything together. The men were still only allowed to be in the government, and the women were given extra education in order to teach the upcoming generation, only the men in that upcoming generation, how to become like the fathers that were already serving in the government. The women were still made to do the chores around the house, take care of the other kids, and then on top of that, teach the upcoming generation how to become noble, leader-like men, so that when they would get older, they would have the correct education to become part of the government and continue on as the foundation holders.
So wow, Omar, Elizabeth and Lindsay's pieces of evidence really busted that myth, but I wonder what Marcel has to say about it.
Yeah, let's cut to Marcel.
Hey!
Alright, as stated before by my colleagues, women did get more rights after the revolution, but it wasn't political. After America won its independence from Britain, they started to grow more in land, but they also grew more in prosperity. Times shifted from handcrafted products by middle-class women to more industrialized products. So this freed up a lot of time for middle-class women. This allowed middle-class women to go to school and get an education. So one of the most pivotal times after the revolution is the opening of the Young Ladies Club in 1787. This marked one of the first all-women's clubs. All women's schools opened after the revolution. Teachers taught spelling, reading, geography, and other subjects. When this started to shift towards the 1800s to kind of influence seminars and other things more geared towards women. So all in all, women did get more rights, but they were more towards education and teaching the younger generation of men so they can be better political leaders.
But women were given educational rights. And the reason being is because they wanted to teach the younger generation how to become future leaders.
Hey you, do you want to know something? It's our second myth, but you have to keep it quiet because it's a secret. The weather right now, it's not 74 degrees, it's 73! So modern day society, modern day society, women play a huge role. Women are allowed to vote, receive an education, education and are limited in the working.
We're given articles and evidence to help pick apart and identify whether this myth was invalid or false.
Invalid.